Hello, forever friends and family. I would like to welcome everybody to webinar Transforming Anxiety number 2. We continue to read, to study, and implement the book, which is really valuable for our well-being, for our health, to be healthy and beautiful. And I would like to ask my friend and partner for Brooklyn, New York, Zoe Sergey, please unmute your microphone and continue.
Good evening, everyone. So, the back of the book, the cover. The perfect antidote to anxiety. Feelings of anxiety can sap your energy, joy, and vitality. But now, the scientists at the Institute of HeartMath have adapted their revolutionary techniques into a fast and simple program that you can use to break free from anxiety once and for all. At the core of the HeartMath method is the idea that our thoughts and emotions affect our heart rhythms. By focusing on positive feelings such as appreciation, care, or compassion, you can create coherence in these rhythms with amazing results. Using the HeartMath method, you learn to engage your heart to bring your emotions, body, and mind into balance. Relief from anxiety, optimal health, and high performance all day long will follow. A powerful guide to using positive emotions and loving kindness to reduce anxiety in its myriad forms. Drawing on science and common sense, the HeartMath tools will be helpful to everyone when practice is taught in this straightforward and easy to read book.
Thank you, Zoe. Yes, thank you. Let me change the screen for a second, please. Now we have a correct screen. Please go ahead, Zoe.
Phobia disorder is a fear of panicking or losing control in certain situations, so these situations are avoided. There are many kinds of phobias, such as phobias, but the most common are fear of heights, fear of panicking in an elevator or elsewhere in public, and fear of what others will think of you if you panic. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, occurs after a deep emotional shock or traumatic event, such as witnessing extreme violence, experiencing war, or emotional or physical injury that has left you feeling betrayed or violated. Common therapies for anxiety. The most common forms of therapy for anxiety disorders to date have been drug treatments combined with cognitive behavioral therapies, CBT, to help to take a more rational approach toward your thoughts and reactions and better control them.
Hold on for a second, Zoe, excuse me for a second. I want to share my notes here. I made some comments and I would like to share these notes with everybody. It's a translation from English to Russian language. Как тут написано, когнитивно-поведенческая терапия.
Когнитивно-поведенческая
Therapy.
Терапия.
Еще one more thing I forgot to mention, that Isaac with us today, but he has some technical challenges and he is not participate as a reader today. Okay, go ahead.
So CBT often includes cognitive reconstructing therapy, which usually involves role-playing anxiety-provoking scenarios in order to rehearse more rational responses. Then, intentionally exposing oneself to anxiety-producing situations in real life while applying cognitive restructuring thoughts to the experience. The cognitive behavioral model operates from the theory that ineffective thoughts cause disturbed emotions and unhealthy behaviors. CBT tries to help people recognize and stop anxiety triggering thoughts. CBT, by definition, does not focus primarily on emotions because it assumes emotions always follow thoughts. Thus, by changing your thoughts, you can gain control over your emotions. Cognitive therapies have helped many to manage or reduce anxiety, but for others, they have not been effective. Too often, CBT does not release or transform the underlying feeling of anxiety. Most therapies also include breathing, relaxation, visualization, or meditation techniques to help you become more serene. Breathing exercising change the heart rhythm pattern. The heart rhythm pattern tells the brain how the body feels. Some deep breathing exercises signal the brain that the body is more balanced, which is why they can temporarily help to calm you. Relaxation and meditation techniques help slow down body and mind, which can also decrease stress and anxiety. However, stress and anxiety often return once the effect wears off if the underlying causes aren't addressed. Visualization techniques can help distract you from anxious feelings and may generate new positive feelings about what is being visualized. Distraction is much healthier than focusing on or being obsessed with anxious attitudes, feelings, and mental processing. But distraction usually only brings temporary relief from anxiety. More recently, therapists have been using Buddhist mindfulness meditation and practices which help people detach from their thoughts and add compassion and kindness to their experiences. Some psychologists are researching and developing what they call acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, which uses Buddhist distancing techniques called diffusion to teach you to accept anxious feelings rather than resist or try to block them. The theory is that by accepting the anxious feelings, those feelings lose their charge and eventually dissipate through lack of attention. The limitations of cognitive behavioral therapies. Since the early 1990s, research in neurosciences have shown how physiological processes can add to stress and anxiety levels. For example, cardiac arrhythmias irregular beating patterns of the heart send a chaotic pattern to the brain, which can trigger anxiety or panic attacks. One study of individuals with sudden onset arrhythmias found that more than 2/3 displayed symptoms of panic disorder. Once the arrhythmia was treated, the symptoms disappeared. Lesmier of 1997. It's a good idea for anyone who has panic attacks to be checked by a doctor for a possible arrhythmia. It's also clear that emotional processes can operate at much faster speed than thoughts, frequently bypassing the mind's cognitive reasoning process entirely. Leduc 1996. While emotions, of course, can be triggered by thoughts, many times they arise from unconscious associations. In other words, emotions can arise independently of the cognitive system and can significantly bias or color perception and thinking. For example, if you became ill after eating mayonnaise as a child, just the smell of mayonnaise now can make you nauseous. Or if you were raised to believe that people of a certain race or culture are violent or untruthworthy, then just seeing a person from that culture can trigger fear, even though your rational mind knows better. Furthermore, researchers have found that people make decisions primarily by emotional assessment and only secondarily by cognitive or rational thinking. Neuroscience has shown that feelings and thoughts are separate, yet interacting functions, which communicate via two-way neural connections between the cognitive and emotional centers of the brain. The neural connections from the emotional to the cognitive center are stronger and more numerous than those going from the cognitive to the emotional centers. Leduc, 1996. This helps explain why emotional attitudes and feelings can disrupt thoughts and dominate thinking, and why it's difficult to turn off strong emotions through rational thought alone. It also helps explain why cognitive behavioral therapies do not work for many. Emotions, a pattern matching process. Emotional sensations and experience result from the ongoing interaction between your heart, brain, nervous, and hormonal systems. McCready, 2003. The brain develops familiar patterns of emotional experience and looks for similarities, differences, and relationships between patterns. Dr. Carl Pribram, professor emeritus of psychology and psychiatry and head of the neuropsychological laboratory at Stanford University, was the first to propose that the brain functions as a complex pattern identification and matching system. Pribram and Melges, 1969. In this model of emotions, past experience builds a set of familiar patterns, which become imprinted in your neural architecture. Patterns of rhythmic activity within the body also provide input to the brain. This input forms the backdrop of emotional experience. These patterns include the heart's rhythmic beating pattern, respiratory, digestive, and hormonal rhythms, and patterns of muscular tension, particularly facial expressions. The brain continuously monitors these inputs in order to help organize perception, cognition, feeling, and behavior. Recurring patterns form a reference pattern against which input patterns are compared. When the brain finds a pattern that matches the reference pattern, it processes the experience as familiar, and it then triggers thoughts, feelings, and physical responses to reinforce the familiar, even if the pattern is dysfunctional. This is called a maladapted pattern. For example, if you worry a lot, then worrying can become so familiar to your body that when you are not worrying or anxious, you feel uncomfortable. Once worry or anxiety becomes the familiar reference pattern, the brain keeps defaulting to anxious feelings and thoughts as the path of least resistance. This is how habits are formed. The brain considers the familiar to be more comfortable, no matter how irrational it may be. The brain automatically strives to maintain a match with mental, emotional, and physical anxiety responses and habits, despite their detrimental impact on health, well-being, or behavior. Without effective intervention, anxiety can become self-perpetuating and self-reinforcing.
Zoya, thank you very much for your reading. Take a break, and I would like to ask to continue friend and partner from Brooklyn, Helen Osipov. Helen, please go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Establishing new patterns. The way to interrupt this cycle is to introduce dynamic new patterns and to reinforce them until they become familiar, thus establishing a new reference pattern. Once a new reference pattern becomes stabilized, your system will strive to maintain a match with this new baseline. McCarty, 2006. This is the goal of most therapies, and this is the goal of HeartMath techniques as well. Although the HeartMath model involves a system often overlooked by others, the heart. The HeartMath model. Research at the Institute of HeartMath since 1990 has found that the heart plays a primary role in the establishing and stabilizing emotional patterns. The heart is a sophisticated information encoding and processing center with an intrinsic nervous system or little brain, which enables the heart to learn, remember, and make functional decisions independent of the head brain. Armour, 2003, Armour and Campbell, 2004. The heart rhythm pattern is continually and rapidly modulated by changes in the heart's little brain, which receives information from throughout the body, and by changes in the activity of the autonomic nervous system, ANS. With each beat, the heart not only pumps blood, but also continually transmits neurological, hormonal, pressure, and electromagnetic information to the head brain and throughout the body, affecting how you feel and perceive, McCarthy and Children, 2004. HeartMath researchers have found that therapies or interventions to release and transform anxiety are most effective when they intentionally engage the heart's intelligence system. You can go right to the heart of the matter by learning to engage with your heart's rhythmic activity. Learning to intentionally change the pattern of your heart's rhythm will change how you feel and perceive. McCarthy and Children, 2004. McCarthy, 2006. In fact, people commonly do this when feeling stress by taking deep breaths to calm down. This effect is why adults instinctively tell children who are stressed or panicked to take a few deep breaths and calm down so they can assess the situation with more balance. Altering the breathing rhythms by taking several slow, deep breaths alters the heart's rhythm, which in turn sends a different pattern to the brain. You can feel calmer and more at ease through deep breathing, but sustaining slow, deep breathing is difficult for more than a minute or two, so most people default back to their familiar emotional pattern, such as anxiety, fairly quickly. Heart rhythm coherence. HeartMath research has shown that the process of creating a sustainable emotional shift can be facilitated by shifting the heart rhythm into a coherent pattern, see chapter 3, where both branches of the ANS are parasympathetic and sympathetic become synchronized. The coherent pattern is a smooth, ordered pattern in the heart rhythm, similar to a sine wave. Shifting into this coherent pattern causes increased harmony and synchronization if the interaction in the interactions between the heart and brain. McCarthy, 2005. Coherence in the heart rhythm pattern arises naturally during deep, restful sleep. Coherence in the heart rhythm while awake promotes a calm, balanced, yet alert and responsive state of well-being. The positive emotional shift. HeartMath research has further shown that shifting your attention to the physical area of the heart, combined with generating a sincere, heartfelt positive attitude or feeling, is a quick way to create a coherence in the heart rhythm pattern. McCarthy, 2005, it's some names. The brain associates coherence with feelings of ease, security, and well-being, resulting in a pattern match with positive emotional experience. This serves to reinforce the positive emotional shift, making it easier to sustain. Generating positive attitudes and emotions like kindness, compassion, appreciation, or love, even for a few moments, can trigger in the brain a new perceptual mode that brings new insight and understanding about stressful or anxiety-producing issues. Intuitive understanding helps release anxiety. HeartMath has developed simple, user-friendly, clinically proven techniques based on this research to help people make quick, positive emotional shifts and to sustain them over long periods until they become the brain's new reference pattern. Through practicing HeartMath techniques, you can add sustained heart rhythm coherence to any self-help or therapeutic process and power up its effectiveness until new baseline patterns become established, which your brain then recognizes as familiar and strives to maintain. In this way, the HeartMath solution helps not only to release anxiety, but also to transform familiar anxiety patterns into a new, healthier baseline patterns. The HeartMath techniques you will learn in this book will help you empower your own emotional restructuring and repatterning so that healthier perceptions, emotions, and attitudes become a more automatic and familiar way of being. Many health professionals have found that HeartMath research helps explain why and when other therapies they use work or don't work. Using the HeartMath techniques alone or added to other approaches, while not necessarily a cure-all, is effective not only in helping to clear and transform anxiety, depression, and trauma, but in significantly improving people's outlook and quality of life. And quality of life, I'm sorry. What you will learn in this book. The HeartMath solution has been researched in psychophysiology laboratories, validated in clinical studies, and practiced by thousands of people who have successfully transformed their anxiety into ease and clarity, creating more serenity in their lives. The HeartMath methods will help you access a power within yourselves that's stronger than worry, anxiety, or fear, the power of your own heart. In this book, you will learn how to connect with the power of the heart to create a pattern interrupt. The Quick Tools in Action, Chapter 3, will show you how to change your familiar anxiety response in the moment as it occurs. The Cut Through and Heart Lock-In Techniques, Chapter 4 and 6, will give you the power you need to change your biochemistry and neural patterning to healthier functioning. Through practicing these techniques, you will change the energetics in your subconscious, which changes your perceptions of anxiety-provoking thoughts or situations and changes your belief about yourself. You will gain compassion and new intuitive insight about what creates or perpetuates your anxiety. You will look at what you care about and see that care can turn into over reattachment, creating over care. You will discover how overcare is at the root of most anxiety and learn to transform overcare back into true care that revitalizes. Oh, excuse me. It's important that you have a journal or notebook for completing the exercises and worksheets that you will do while reading this book. It's also important to underline or take notes on sections that you will want to remember. In this way, you will be able to get the most out of the techniques as well as keep track of your progress. This book will not delve into all the various types of anxiety treatments like other psychological therapies, vitamins, minerals, herbs, nutrition, or physical exercise. There are many helpful books available that cover these topics. You can use HeartMath techniques by themselves or add them to any other treatments you find beneficial. As you practice the HeartMath solution, you will also develop heart intuition to draw to your additional remedies that can help.
Helen, hold on for a second, please. Take a break. Thank you for your reading, and I would like to us to continue. The most reliable manager from New Jersey, Iris Cristobal. Iris, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Chapter 1, The Anxiety Epidemic. That the birds of worry care fly over your head. This you cannot change, but they build nests in your hair, and this you can prevent. Ancient Chinese proverb. For a long time, my first experience of the day was a tension in my gut, says Matt. Learning to relax more. My doctor advised. Matt had finally decided to talk to his doctor after what seemed like years of waking up feeling like he never went to bed. As soon as I opened my eyes, I would feel the accumulation of concerns and anxiety about the coming day or difficult people to deal with. Often the discomfort would be because of some uncomfortable conversation I needed to have with someone. No matter how well the day went, the anxious feeling would never completely go away. Matt is typical of many who suffer from a constant sense of anxiousness and dread. Anxiety, like Matt's, has become an epidemic. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, 1 in 8 Americans aged 18 to 54 now suffers from an anxiety disorder. 1 in 10 American women takes anti-anxiety or antidepressant drugs, and the use of these drugs has nearly tripled in the last decade. While the number isn't quite as high as for men, those rates are rising as well. At the current rate of increase in stress level, one can expect anxiety statistics to at least double within the next few years. Anxiety is projected to increase not only from work or financial stress, but also from increase in societal turbulence due to wars, terrorist threats, natural disasters, and the increasing polarization between people of different political parties and religious beliefs. Anxiety may range in intensity from unease to worry to strong fear. It may last a short while, or it may last a long time, becoming chronic because people don't know how to release it. Undercurrents of anxiety often propel addictive behaviors around alcohol, food, sex, drugs, shopping, or doing anything to extremes. Addictions give temporary relief from obsessive thoughts and feelings. However, underlying the addiction are more worrisome thoughts and anxious feelings, often stemming from lack of security or self-worth. People look outside themselves to feel better or safer. Anxiety can make people shun intimacy or conversely become over-attached and seek a great deal of reassurance from their partners or children. They then feel powerless or out of control, which only reinforces the anxiety. This feeling of lack of control and ongoing anxiety often leads to depression. Current psychological treatments for anxiety have been ineffective for many. Most therapists try to help people gain objective distance from anxiety-producing thoughts so that they can challenge their underlying beliefs and fears. The theory is that if you change your thoughts and beliefs, then your feelings will change. But this is not always the case. Feelings and emotions become habitual and often have a life of their own. The HeartMath solution is different from most treatments that it addresses emotions directly. HeartMath techniques access the power of your own heart and spirit to change what you couldn't change before. They will help you find the ease and flow through life that you are wanting. Anxiety patterns. The problem is that the more you experience anxiety, the more anxiety reactions become etched in your neural circuitry. Anxiety becomes an automatic response to stressful thoughts and feelings. Many people we encounter in our HeartMath programs today report ongoing high to low grade anxiety draining their energy. Today's lifestyle has entrained people into constant activity and stress. With too much to do, too much to juggle, and not enough time to do it all. Consequently, the emotional system can't keep up, creating constant emotional oversensitivity and reactivity that contribute to anxiety. Add to that terrorist threats, economic uncertainty, and fear of disease epidemics, which create an atmosphere of anxiety. And it's understandable why people feel more anxious and edgy.
Hold on for a second, Aris. I would like to share some comments right here because the last section is crucial for us because everything what you just read happened to us since 2020. Since we see what I put it here. I said COVID-16, I mistyped. COVID-19, since 2020, we had COVID-19 problem, election in US problem. Since February 24, Russian attack Ukraine, war in Ukraine, combined together, it is very stressful situation for everybody now. That's why this book is essential for everybody to read, to study, and implement. Sorry for interruption. Iris, please go ahead.
Okay. Anxiety fatigue. Anxiety keeps the body flooded with stress hormones that drain the energy. This is one of the most common reasons for chronic low energy or fatigue. We call it anxiety fatigue. Anxiety fatigue can also make you irritable, impatient, quicker to anger, or more self-judgmental, which often leads to guilt and depression. This cascade of negative emotion creates autonomic nervous system and biochemical imbalances. The autonomic nervous system, ANS, controls 90% of the body's involuntary functions. This is one reason why many people with anxiety experience scary physical sensations, including chest tension, shortness of breath, panic attacks, rapid heartbeats, dizziness, sweating, shaking, indigestion, pain in the limbs, insomnia, hormonal or immune system imbalances, and many other symptoms. Any of which can make you feel more anxious or panicked. If you suffer from any of these physical symptoms, it's critical to see a doctor to have it checked out. Certain physiological conditions like cardiac arrhythmias can cause anxiety and panic attacks that go away when the condition is treated. Stress and anxiety. If your doctor says your anxiety is stress-related, then it's important to understand how your mind and emotions are compounding your symptoms. When you have strong physical symptoms like panic attacks, your mind and emotions go on the defensive to try to protect you. You can develop a fear of the panic reaction or get caught in the clutches of the fear, which only makes the physical symptoms worse. You can feel like you're going to pass out, have a heart attack, or die, which can be very scary. Ongoing anxiety symptoms often lead to phobias, and you avoid going places or doing things that might cause or worsen a sense of anxiety. When anxiety becomes a disorder, you can find yourself obsessed by worry and negative or fearful projections, believing your thoughts and images of worst-case scenarios. Anxiety causes negative thoughts to loop around, creating more stress in response, until anxious thoughts and feelings take a life of their own without needing an event to trigger them. This doesn't make you bad. It's simply natural consequence on how the body develops patterns. You can use this same pattern producing to undo the anxiety. Beneath the anxiety-provoking thoughts and feelings are your beliefs. Most people have developed some distortions in their beliefs, either through childhood, upbringing, or from unresolved hurt or shame. For example, you may have believed that all men are untrustworthy because you were hurt in a relationship, or you may have unconscious belief that another race or religion is inferior because your parents saw it that way. This is common and only human. People with anxiety disorders may deny or repress feelings such as frustrations or sadness, or even positive feelings like hope and joy. Repressing feelings creates a free-floating anxiety, and you feel anxious without knowing why. Seeking help. Unfortunately, it's only when anxiety becomes a serious problem that most people seek help. They read self-help books or go to their doctors to get anti-anxiety medication or some other therapy, taking drugs for a period of time to lessen or relieve anxiety, while undergoing counseling to address the underlying causes has helped many individuals. Anxiety-reducing drugs may tone down one's symptoms or bring temporary relief, which can be invaluable. But they won't solve the underlying cause of anxiety. They also can cause insomnia, lack of sex drive, and other side effects. For some, these side effects are as debilitating as the problem they are designed to help. Tranquilizers like Valium, diazepam, often prescribed for anxiety, are addictive if taken too often. You need to keep taking more and more to get the same relaxing effect. While drugs may temporarily help relieve anxious or depressed feelings, they also can dull positive feelings and a connection to one's deeper self. For many, that's better than feeling anxious, but it doesn't bring long-term joy or satisfaction in living. Anxiety can also contribute to other health problems, which people take more drugs to relieve. And then there are the potential side effects of those drugs to be anxious about, like the warnings tagged onto the end of the TV commercials, compounding anxiety with anxiety. The bottom line is that anxiety is spiraling out of control for many. Millions struggle with what to do about anxiety, even they aren't talking about it. It could be your neighbor, your boss, or even your doctor. Admitting you have anxiety used to be a stigma, and many people still fear being judged for it. The bar is being raised, and people need to know how to cut through all this. It's time for compassion and action. Cutting through anxiety. In a story about anger, Pika Smith writes about a Native American grandfather who was talking to his grandson one day. The grandfather said, "I feel as I have two wolves fighting in my heart. One wolf is vengeful, angry, violent one. The other is the loving, compassionate one." The grandson asked him, "Which wolf will win the fight in your heart, grandfather?" The grandfather answered, "The one I feed." Feeding anxiety creates a habit. Once anxiety becomes a habit, it etches a neural pattern that becomes the default reaction. Then you find anxious feelings and thoughts bubbling up and automatically as if out of nowhere. Your mind knows better. You conceptually understand that these anxious thoughts and feelings aren't serving you, but you feel like a victim, powerless to change them. Anxiety becomes closed loop running through your system. In this day and age, there isn't time to spend years in therapy psychoanalyzing the past, which often gets you more identified with the past and stuck in the anxiety. The mind and rational thought alone are not strong enough to cut through. You need a power stronger than mind and emotion. You need the power of your heart. Research at the Institute of HeartMath had found the most effective way to cut through patterns of anxiety is to connect with the power of your heart to change your physiology and feelings, which then changes your perceptions. McCarthy and Children, 2004. McCarthy, 2006. The HeartMath approaches provides you with techniques that help you cut through closed mental and emotional loops and create new patterns in your neural circuitry. As you practice the HeartMath tools in this book, you develop intuitive intelligence to see what to do. You won't be able to eliminate intrusive thoughts or anxious feelings overnight. Success is correlated with how deeply you experience and believe how the new perceptions as your gain. Success is also correlated with how much you act on what your heart tells you. As you take responsibility for acting on your new intuitions and insights, you will transform anxiety in your own life and thus contribute to more ease and flow in the lives of those around you as well.
Iris, hold on for a second. Let's take a break. We made a very good progress today. We're on page 19 and 20% booked, and we just getting better. So again, thank you to all readers, Iris, Helen, and Zoya. Any questions, any comments, whatever you would like to share with everybody, just unmute your microphone, raise your hands, and speak up.
I will do the first one, Alex.
Okay.
I like the story of the grandfather and the son. It's very impactful when the grandfather said, "The one that I feed." So I think
the one that I feed, yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that really like hits a very good point in all of us. So we go to as the one that we feed. So I think this book is very interesting, and looking forward to how HeartMath will help us get through changing our beliefs as well.
Thank you, Iris. Thanks a lot for your input also. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you next Monday. If you may have any question, as always, you know how to reach me. Thank you all readers, and thank you everybody for participation. Take care. Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.